So moving on to our All NBA teams. This is where the fun begins, Chris. This is where the fun begins. Who do you got for your first team All NBA? Five best players in the league at their position this year.
All right. So I stuck true to actual positions. I didn't do I wasn't like, oh, well, if I put, Davis as a power forward, but I did if where they plays where I actually put them. And I feel like most of these, I don't even think it's that controversial. My two
Okay.
guards, I had Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, I had Donovan Mitchell. My
Okay.
two forwards were Giannis and Tatum, and Embiid was my center. The only thing I kind of struggled with, I honestly was like, I don't really want to put Donovan Mitchell first team, just because I'm not a huge Donovan Mitchell guy. I liked other guys that just either didn't play enough games or think his team was a 4 seed. He was the best player on that team, and he was really good statistically. But Luka fell out of it. Luka was there most of the year, but if your team doesn't make the playoffs, you're not getting first seed from me.
Okay. I think that's fair. I have Luca penciled in, but I almost want to agree with you with Mitchell as first team. I mean, 28 a game. He's the central offensive force for Cleveland. He stepped up defensively, got closer back to where he was a few years ago this year, playing under that Cleveland, the number one defense in the league, Cleveland. SGA, you mentioned. SGA's taking 31 shots a game if you throw in his 10 free throws. Like
Yeah,
he
I heard that.
and only two of them are 3-pointers, and he still averaged 30 a game. He's underrated defensively. He's averaging over 1 steal and 1 block per game. Like you said, he improved a ton. It's just Laurie Markkinen went from role player to star, not superstar, but star. SGA improved a ton too. The Thunder made the play, and we'll see if they beat the Pelicans tonight and get in the playoffs. But he was incredible this year, and I already thought he's gonna be really good, but he really surpassed my expectations. He's now one of the best guards in the league. Luca, the reason I still am struggling not to put him on the first team is like it's supposed to be the full season. I understand Dallas tailed off after the Kyrie trade, and defensively the effort isn't always there. But the guy still averaged like 31, 8, and 8. He's still considered like a top 6 player in the league. Dallas, they weren't atrocious. They missed the play-in by 2 games. But I don't know. I think you've talked me into it though. I feel like I want to switch it and give Mitchell the first team, Luka second
I
team.
mean, I think Luka's better. I don't think
Yeah.
there's any debate about that, but it's not who's better, it's who had a better season. And I think if you don't even make the play in, like if he made the play in, I'd probably just be like, you know what, whatever. I'm a Luka fan, but
Right.
you can't miss the playoffs, especially when you were the 4 seed for most of the year and you choke like that.
Yeah.
He missed a lot of games towards the end, which is a part of it. He played 66 games still, but a lot of that was at the end where they were struggling to win and he was in the lineup a lot. So Mitchell played 68, I think. So only 2 games more. But the point is, like Luka's team is worse than Mitchell's team. I don't think there's any debate about that.
Yeah.
But I'm not putting anyone on the first team that's not even going to make the postseason because if you were that guy, I feel like you would get there. That's
Yeah,
my
I think that's fair for the first team All NBA.
for first
Like
team. Yes.
the standard should be that's fair. The standard should be if you're considered a top 2 player at your position, you got to be in the playoffs. I think that's fair. So I'm gonna agree with you. I think Donovan Mitchell, SGA, Tatum, Giannis, and Embiid. I I mean Tatum and Giannis, like everybody knows how good they are. I mean, is there
I
anything
don't,
you really need to say?
there's no debate about Tatum or Giannis. We didn't really talk about Tatum. He's probably going to finish fourth for MVP.
Mhm.
For a lot of the beginning of the year, it looked like the Celtics were the best team, and Tatum was having his best year. Celtics didn't really tail off. They just went from like blazing hot to just like very good.
Yeah.
And Tatum went from blazing hot to very good, but he's still the best forward besides Giannis this season. And he actually has that two-way impact that like some
Yeah.
other guys just don't have. And he played a lot of games too. Like there's some guys in here I have that missed a lot of games. I feel like this year, this is the least I've looked at games played because there's so many guys who missed a lot.
Yeah.
So
Well, speaking of games
played.
played, yeah, I agree. Tatum had a great season. So, but when you're talking about games played, this is where things get interesting because I'm interested to see how much each of us took games played into account because I wound up taking into account a lot for certain players. So who's your second team?
All right. This is where I have Luca at the first guard spot.
Yeah.
The second guard, I have De'Aaron Fox.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay, my two forwards are Jimmy Butler and Laurie Markkinen. And my center is Jokic.
Yeah. Jokic obviously is there. I'll give him some props now that Embiid's the MVP. Jokic, best passing big man maybe ever. Incredible offensive player. Sees the court like few others. You know, he's proven even in the playoffs he can score pretty much anywhere on the court. My problem with Jokic is he's not quite as dominant as Embiid, and defensively, he's just not the two-way player an Embiid or Giannis is, which is why I don't think he's the best player in the league. But he is the second best center in basketball, and he deserves that nod for sure.
Just real quick about Jokic. I was really, feeling the whole Jokic Nuggets move for the whole year, but he really annoyed me after the trade deadline where it was like, yeah, I really don't care about the MVP. Like, I know he doesn't care, but like he really showed he didn't care. And it was just like, all right, can you actually care a little bit? Like,
And the Jokic fans are gonna be like, well, Jokic wasn't trying to win MVP, so that's why he didn't.
I know, like they start to annoy me. And then the Nuggets just gave up. And when the Nuggets gave up, can Jokic, if he's the MVP, like, but he doesn't care. But if your team is struggling, can you just go out there and just like win your team a game?
Yeah.
Like a few times. I feel like he just was like, all right, our team's not feeling it right now, and I rely on passing it to these guys. They're going cold.
Mhm.
All right, then you go drop 40. Like he just didn't assert himself like I would have wanted him to, and that's why he was third in my MVP and not even second.
Okay. Yeah.
But he's still second team center, but
I definitely agree with everything you're saying. So, a couple things I disagree on. I have Luca. I mean, I had him first team originally, but you've convinced me he's second team. I have Laurie. Laurie is the second team All NBA player. Like that's why he won Most Improved in my eyes. Like he made a huge jump. He was legitimately that good. Here's where I disagree. I have Jaylen Brown as my second team forward. He is a forward. Marcus Smart and Derek White are the starting guards of the Boston Celtics. All you have to do is look at the stats. They started a ton of games. Jaylen Brown's a forward. He is a second team All NBA forward. He is a great two-way player, very poised scorer, especially from the mid-range. We'll see what happens in the offseason if he will be on the Celtics next year. But I think you have to reward him for how good he's played. Definitely the best wing tandem in the league is him and Tatum. I think he deserves that spot. I still have Ja over Fox.
I didn't even have Ja on my list.
He played 61 games. The Grizzlies are a top 2 seed. I just think we don't know what Ja really did. Like it seems like his behavior was a little weird, but it's not he's playing again. Like he can't be recognized. 26 a game. I think like 8 assists. Grizzlies, I know they played pretty well without him, but they also played really well with him, just like last year. He's one of the most scary players when he's going to the rim. I don't think Fox has had a great season. I don't think he is a better player than Ja really
It's
at
not
all.
about who's a better player though.
I know, but like Ja still played enough games that I think he should be considered for this.
I honestly was gonna. I don't have Ja on here at all, and you'll see my third team. You'll see why Ja's not on there. Fox though was one of the clutchest players in the league for the third seed Kings. I think the Grizzlies are extremely talented, and they actually were doing well towards the end of Ja missing games too. So like they have a lot of talent there without him. The gun thing was weird, where you can't if you get suspended by the team during the year and you miss like 20 games, like I'm not putting you on All NBA if you're detrimental to your team where they have to suspend you. And De'Aaron Fox was so good too. Like I think when Morant was on the court, he was better. But Fox, what he did for that team, I think was more impressive. And Ja's off the court thing. If you have an off the court issue, I think that should factor into your All NBA thing. And if you're missing games because of it and your team has to have a team meeting because you can't control yourself off the court, I'm taking you off the All NBA. That's why I didn't have Morant on here.
I guess that's fair. I just didn't know what to do with the situation. Like it clearly wasn't
for me. My third team is like you're really talented, but either you missed a lot of games or something weird happened. But I have 2 guards ahead of him there that like I genuinely think were better than him this year.
okay.
I don't want that off the court stuff like that actually impacts the team. I'm gonna penalize that probably harder than most, but
okay. I mean, I kind of agree with you. I'm not gonna change my pick because like I don't know. I already changed my Luka pick for different reasons, but like I don't know. I'll stick to what I'm saying, but like I kind of agree with what you're saying, but I don't know. It's just like when I just look at Ja's stats, kind of hard to be like, oh, well, he's not an all NBA guy. I don't know. That's what I would say. Do you have any pushback on Jaylen Brown, or are you just like,
Yeah, I think I knew you were gonna pick Jimmy Butler because he left the Sixers, so I know you're just not a Jimmy
I
Butler.
almost had Jimmy Butler, but we'll talk about him in a couple minutes. Well,
No,
you
we're
could
gonna
talk
talk
about him
about him
now.
now because you
You can talk
gypped
about
him
him
of
now.
a second team All NBA.
Guess what? I don't have him on the third team either.
That is so disrespectful.
No, it's not. You'll see why. Well,
You'll see why. All right.
thing.
Jimmy Butler shot his career best, almost 54% from the floor. He actually had a better 3-point percentage than Jaylen Brown. And he put
He
up
shoots one a game. Congrats to Jimmy.
Brown shot 33% from three. So no, I don't know, man. But he shoots 7, but he shot 33%. So, anyways, Jimmy Butler, 6 rebounds and just over 5 assists. I just think he is the focal point of his whole team that is atrocious. His team
The
is so
worst offense in basketball, the Miami Heat, who just lost to the Atlanta Hawks last night. It's not Jimmy Butler. Jimmy
I
Butler
don't
had a
know.
good season.
Is the plane supposed to factor into this?
No, I'm just saying, like,
Okay, if the Heat, like in my brain, like if the Heat,
I'm just saying the Heat had the number 30 offense through the season, and then it kind of all came crashing down on them last night. That's all I'm saying.
they were still the 7th seed from the regular season. Jimmy Butler is the most important player on his team. Jaylen at times, like I don't want to give a Robin a spot over the Batman of like Jimmy Butler. When Jimmy Butler had a really good season,
So would you have, if this was like Shaq and Kobe were still around, you would go with Jimmy Butler over Kobe because you don't want to give a second best player over a
if
best
this was Kobe in like 1999, then yes, because he was a baby.
I
But
don't think that's a silly argument, Chris. I'm not gonna lie.
in terms of their season, it's Jimmy Butler is more important to his team that is very bad around him, and they're still a 7th seed. He had a very good year. I think defensively they're the same thing. I think Brown and Butler might be like the same talent, but like what did Jaylen Brown do that's better than Jimmy Butler besides this? Like his team's better, but they also have Tatum on the team.
I know, but like Jaylen Brown's averaging like I forget exactly how many points a game he averaged.
26 a game.
26, yeah, 26 a game.
Jimmy Butler's at 22, so 2 more baskets more for Jaylen
Tatum's
Brown.
putting up 30 and Brown's putting up 26. I don't think having Tatum on the team, like they're both scoring a ton. Like I think they're both just really good.
They're both really good, but Tatum's the guy in that team. Brown is the second guy in that team. Brown has a lot more pieces around
Butler
him to
would
work
also
with.
be the second guy on Boston. Like if they swap roles, like
Okay, if Embiid swapped roles with like Brooke Lopez, like I don't know what the point was. Like I don't care if you swap roles. It's about the season you actually had. The season Jimmy Butler had was the most important player on a 7th seed. Brunson was the second best player on a 2 seed. So
yeah, okay, we just disagree. I think being the second best player who's averaging 26 a game on a top 3 team in the league is more impressive than helping the Heat
they didn't help
crawl into the playoff.
And they made it as a 7th seed. If we're just looking at the regular season, if you look at also what the Celtics have around them, they have Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams.
The Heat were the 1 seed last year, Chris. They were supposed to be good. Like they were supposed to be
They were the
better.
1 seed last year, and then I don't think you even had him on your All NBA team either. So
Because last year is because he missed a lot of time. Remember? Didn't he play like?
I had him on my 3rd team,
I
and
know
so
you
did the others. But that's why man, just stop hating on Jimmy Butler. He literally averaged 4 less points, more rebounds, more assists, and was the leader of a team.
All right. Okay. That's
where
your
Brown is like,
I agree.
but Brown's the second best player. But I think there's like 6 guys on the Celtics who'd probably all play for the Heat. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, the Celtics are super deep.
yeah, I know. So like, congrats to Brown. Like he's on my 3rd team because he's the second best player in a really good team.
Okay.
But if your team is that good, I'm not going to be like, well, Brown, his team's a 2nd seed, so Brown has to be on.
I just can't wait till how bad you're gonna get it. Who I have on my 3rd team over Jimmy
Do you
Butler.
have Pascal Siakam again, or like, is it Pascal?
Well, we're gonna get to it right now.
This is why I'm happy
team
you don't
All-NBA,
vote.
Chris. Who's your All-NBA 3rd team, Chris?
You know what? I changed my MVP pick. I'm picking Giannis.
Oh, shut up.
Giannis is my MVP
You're so
pick.
mad I didn't put Jimmy Butler.
Dude, you just hate on him, and he's
No, I
literally
don't.
he's gonna
Dude,
beat
I wish Jimmy Butler was still in the Sixers.
he's gonna beat the Sixers in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Not even making the playoffs.
On my 3rd team, I have Dame Adala because the team shut him down, but he still played a lot of games, and he was incredible when he was playing. 2, I have Steph at the other guard spot. Missed a lot of games, but when he was on the court.
Yeah.
I have Jaylen Brown as the forward here.
Uh-huh.
I have LeBronathan, the GOAT James, as the other forward. And I have
LeBron,
Sabonis.
LeBronathan.
LeBronathan, the GOAT James. And
What?
then I have Sabonis as the center. Should
Okay.
have been Adebayo, but Sabonis was just offensively just was more boring.
All right. So there's a lot to unpack here for a number of reasons. So Sabonis, I agree completely. I mean, the dude he's basically mini Jokic. I mean, 7 assists, led the league in rebounds, super efficient player in the
So the
post.
other day, I said he's a mini Jokic that actually can move up and down the court.
Yeah, yeah. He's awesome. He was awesome this year, and he absolutely deserves that third team center. So Lillard, like, it's a similar argument to what we're talking about with Luka, where it's like Lillard only played 3 less games than Ja, but the difference was like Memphis was still the 2 seed. Portland, I know they had injuries to a lot of guys, which kind of led to them shutting Dame down, but he only played 58 games. Portland, I mean, they're the 13 seed. For me, if like I'm taking Luka off the first team because he missed the play-in by 2 games, then Dame to me, like as great of a season as he had, there's so many good guards that I don't think I could put him on. Just because if we're talking strictly basketball, like Portland just wasn't a good team. It's not Dame's fault. He had an amazing statistical
That's
season.
why I have the third team. The third team for me is I don't care as much about team success, and I don't care about like whatever. It's literally like who are the best players that aren't on here that had the best season,
Okay.
regardless of team success. And like games played, as my mind Bill always says 55. Like if you're around 60, that's good enough for me. That's why that's my third team is just like
This year, I try to change it depending on the year. Like in
Yeah.
the past couple of years with with COVID, all that stuff, games played were down. This year, I didn't even really do it on purpose going in, but I kind of wound up making it 60 was like my loose cutoff. Now Dame 58, it's pretty close. That if Portland was a playoff team, I probably would have had Dame on my team, even though
I would have had him first team if his team made the playoffs.
Right. That's the thing. He had an incredible season. He really did. Like I love Damian Lillard. Like I've said that many times, but there's so many good guards this season. I wanted to reward guys I thought really deserved it. So I don't have Curry or LeBron. And here's why. I just looked at Durant. The season he had was so incredible, but he only played 47 games. Couldn't put him on the team. The reason I don't have LeBron, I think LeBron probably deserves it more than Siakam for sure.
Oh my God.
Here's the
You
thing.
don't have Jimmy Butler on here.
Listen,
His team actually wasn't in the playoffs. You know that, right?
The Raptors are like 1 game worse than the Heat, Chris.
That does.
Hold on. Let me finish my argument about LeBron first.
As
Then we
soon
can
as I walked into Magic Kingdom, I started
Hold on.
bawling my eyes
Turn
out.
Disney World
All
off.
the magic.
Just make me feel what?
Turn Disney World off.
No, it was. I looked at Pascal Siakam, but it's ESPN.
All
So
right. Let me
it.
finish. Let me finish my LeBron point. Then we can talk about Siakam. Okay. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. LeBron probably should have got this, but my thing was like, oh, I need to say who my 13 guards are. I have Fox and Edwards. My thing was like Curry's a better player than them, but I thought those 2 guys, they played so many games, they deserved to be all NBA. I couldn't. I took Curry off of all NBA because he played like 20 less games, 15 less games than those guys. I wanted to reward them, but it's like if I don't have Curry on here, how can I have LeBron on there when they play the same amount of games?
Who were
So I
your
kind of
guards?
disqualified LeBron because I disqualified Curry. I was trying to.
Who were your guards? I didn't hear.
They both missed a lot of games, so that's why I did that.
Wait, who were your 2 guards?
De'Aaron Fox and Anthony Edwards.
Okay, so I love Anthony Edwards, but I don't have him on any of my teams. And Fox, wait, you have Fox third team. Who was your
I had
second?
Ja, which is a dilemma because you.
Okay, so basically in my brain, you put in Ja over Steph.
Yes.
Like, okay, and then you had Anthony Edwards over Dame. I really do like
Edwards
Anthony
is a great 2-way player.
I know. Just Dame is so much better of a one-way player than so many guys in the league. I mentioned Dame. If your team does make the playoffs, that's when you could go to the third team for me. If you're that good and you had that special of a year. Pascal Siakam, I don't think had that special of a year. I think that team extremely underperformed. Pascal Siakam, you overrate every year. He's not going to make All-NBA because he's always on the fringe.
I didn't tell you who my other third team forward is.
Okay. You know what, Joe?
We're saving that for last, though. We're saving it for last because it's going to
Jimmy Butler's my MVP, actually, over Giannis and Embiid.
Wait, can I defend Siakam? This is absurd.
Yes, no, I'm just saying LeBron played 55 games, which is like the bare minimum. That's 2/3 of the season, as Bill says. I I think someone from the Lakers had
Why
a
is Bill the gospel, dude? Bill voted Evan Mobley Defensive Player of the Year. And he gave Doc
Okay.
Rivers a Coach of the Year vote. Stop.
The point was, he says 55 games is 2/3 of the season, so I'll trust that math.
I've been listening to Bill since I was in 7th grade, and he is wrong all the time.
I'm just saying, if that's
Not the
what
gospel.
I think, if 55 games is like 2/3 of the season, I think that's good enough of a portion, especially when other guys aren't playing a lot of games. The third team is not where I reward guys who played games. The third team is where I give the guys who were the best on the court, even if they missed a lot of games. LeBron was still a top 10 player on a team that made the playoffs. Considering how important LeBron was, and LeBron is everything about him, I'm giving LeBron the nod over Pascal Siakam, or God knows who you have as the other forward. And then guards, I mentioned Dame and Steph too. Steph, the Warriors were fine this year, but when they actually had Steph, they actually looked like they could compete for a title. When they didn't, it just looked like that team was so wildly inconsistent. How many games did Steph play?
55. Anthony Edwards played 78. De'Aaron Fox played 72.
Okay, that's why Fox
You know what?
second.
If you want to argue with me that Curry should get it over Ja, I can hear that out.
I think Steph should get it over Ja. Dame should get it over Ja, or
I can't give Dame over Ja. Well, unless we're just basing off this like off-court morality stuff. But I was trying to stick to basketball. That's why.
But why is Kyrie then not on your list?
Dude, Kyrie, come on. That is not this. Ja is so much better than Kyrie.
Kyrie's off the court stuff factors into stuff too, though. That's my point. Was
I know he
like,
does, but Kyrie's not. Kyrie Irving, I would honestly, if he stayed in Brooklyn, played as well as he was playing around December, January, the Brooklyn Nets kept Durant and Kyrie and they went 53 and whatever, I would have considered Kyrie for All-NBA. He did what he did at the beginning of the year, and then he went to Dallas and they went 4-12 down the stretch, and he didn't help them on defense at all and might not even be on the team next year. He's not an All-NBA guy at all. That's not.
I know, just like I'm saying is, especially in years past, off the court stuff factors into All-NBA. If you miss games because of off the court stuff, I think that factors in.
I disagree. I think the other off the court stuff with Kyrie was not playing games because he didn't have a vaccination. He wasn't playing.
I know, but Ja didn't play games because of the weird gun thing, and he had to go get help. And then it made. I just think it ruins.
I hear your argument there. I just trying to keep it at basketball. I don't know.
I think if your off the court stuff influences your basketball, it should be considered.
Okay,
that's my point.
That's fine.
Then,
I'm not arguing you harshly there, like at all.
That, and also I think Dame was better when he was on the court than Ja was.
Okay, I don't totally disagree, but Memphis is a 2 seed, Portland's a 13 seed.
Okay.
I'm just saying, like,
Heat are 7th seed and the Raptors are a 9 or 10 seed or whatever, but it's okay.
What are you talking about?
I'm
so
saying
you just compared the number 2 seed in the West to the third worst team in the West. The Heat are like one game better than the Raptors.
Playoffs versus not playoffs.
Pascal Siakam, really good scorer, really good creator. He's improved so much as a passer over the past 2 years. He is the best player on the Raptors. He is a very solid defensive player. He was playing small ball center to start the year because Nick Nurse and Masai organized one of the most horrid rosters ever constructed for a team that was supposed to make the playoffs. Go listen to me and Joe Eckstein's podcast from December. We were laughing about how poorly the Raptors were constructed. Then Masai, because he's a wizard of trades, brought in Pirtle. Siakam slides back into forward, and now the Raptors, they've been playing a little bit better. They're back to, playing they have a normal lineup again. And Siakam, to me, Siakam's like no worse than a top 20 player in the league, in my eyes. And here's the thing. The Raptors are not that much worse than the Heat at all. They're like a game worse. And I think Siakam's a better player than Jimmy Butler.
I think Jimmy Butler's a better player when it matters. Jimmy Butler, I think, had to carry his team more. Pascal Siakam had a very respectable 22 points. Shout out to him, or 24 points. Dude, he really shot it well from 3 with 32%. Under 50% shooting. It's true.
Talking about 3-pointers. Jimmy Butler shoots 1 3-pointer a game.
Makes a higher percentage of them.
Come on. You're literally being so biased. Like that's if you're going to talk about 3-pointers when you're arguing.
If you make 32%, you're going to have to hear that you're a bad shooter.
Jimmy Butler doesn't shoot.
Okay, so he's not a bad shoot. Well, Pascal, if you shoot and you don't make them, that's worse than only shooting one and making more.
Pascal Siakam, it's not like he's just launching threes. He's shoots way more in the post or in the from mid range than threes.
Yeah, that's why he shoots 48% from the floor. But anyways, I think Jimmy Butler's more important to his team. I feel like the Raptors have 8 versions of Pascal Siakam next to him.
He's the best version.
Of Pascal Siakam, the best version is Pascal Siakam. But I mean, give me a few years and I'll take Scotty over him. I think Pascal's fine. I think he's really fine. I think he'd be on a 4th team, but I don't know how you look at Pascal Siakam, put him over Jimmy Butler.
Well, can I tell you the other person I put over Jimmy Butler?
Who was the other forward, Joe?
So he is, we were talking about LeBron. LeBron played 55 games. This guy, he exceeded the limit of games you can play. He played 83 games. He is the best perimeter defender in the NBA. And now that he has changed teams, he is averaging 27 points per game with his new team. Before, he was on a very good team, guarding the best players in the league, keeping that team atop the Western Conference before the trade. Mikal Bridges has evolved this season into one of the very, very best wings in the entire league and one of the very best two-way players in the league. He has shown off his defensive prowess all year long on both teams he's played for. He has helped elevate Brooklyn's defense since he got there. He's averaging 27 points per game with the Brooklyn Nets. That is incredible. He has become a guy who can make the three, make the mid-range, command the offense, but also he has the number one, according to some advanced stats I was looking at, he's the number one matchup difficulty of any NBA player this season. He played every game possible. He is taking on a load that very few other players are doing. And I think he's had better season than Jimmy Butler. And Siakam, honestly. I actually think Bridges had a better season than Siakam, too.
I would agree Bridges better than Siakam, but if we're just looking at the last 27 games they've played, sure, Mikal Bridges is an All-NBA guy. However, considering
he's still the best defensive wing in the league on Phoenix.
I don't even have him on an all-defensive team for me. I think he's still really good defensively, but
you don't have him on your all-defensive team. I don't know what you're talking about.
I think he was very good for the Nets this year. But if you would talk about bad teams, the Nets, like after the trade, were worse than the Heat were. So there's that.
Nets have not been bad after the trade.
There have been sub 500.
They were expected to bow out, and instead they got the 6th seed.
They're still a bad team since they got Bridges. The team though is still losing more games than it wins. Point is, Mikal Bridges has had a terrific time with the Nets. However, all he does with the Nets is score and defense, but he doesn't play, make, or rebound like Jimmy Butler does. If you look at his time with the Suns, that's why I'm jipping him here. It's because he was on the Suns with Devin Booker, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and he's the 4th option. 17 a game, pretty solid, but
I was going to say he was already having his best offensive season in Phoenix, and then he just.
But I don't care if it's his best offensive season. I'm just comparing it to other people, not himself. So 17 points per game, solid. Does that
if you put the two stints together, he averaged 20 a game on the year while also being like an elite all defensive caliber wing and playing every game. He is literally the ultimate Iron Man of the NBA.
It's great that he played every game. I just don't think 20 points a game in every game and really good defense is going to take out Jimmy Butler, who's a very good defender, who's the most important player on his team the whole season, not just the last 20-something games on a bad, atrocious, they're fine, but the Nets team that was kind of the season's over anyways. So let's let Mikal Bridges develop.
If the Nets were so bad, then why didn't the Heat catch them to get out of the play-in?
Because they had a huge, gigantic lead. The Nets literally won 14 in a row with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. I think they got to the 2 seed at one point. They did, and they were only behind by a game, and then they fell down because Kevin Durant got hurt.
I don't know. To me, Mikal Bridges was an integral force for a very good team the first half of the year and is the best player on a solid team the second half of the year.
What are the Heat? Are the Heat a solid team?
Yes.
Okay, so Jimmy Butler is the best player on a solid team the whole year. That is more important to that team's total success. And
I'm just saying, I think
Mikal doesn't have
Bridges
56 games played for the other team that he was the 4th best player of.
To call Mikal the 4th best player on the Suns this year is, I would say.
Who would you? Chris Paul,
He might have been the second. until he got traded.
You could say Chris Paul because he had a down year, but you always push back that Chris Paul has decreased, so I don't really know.
Well, Chris Paul's still an elite playmaker, but I don't
Aiden had 18 a game compared to Bridges 17. They're basically the same thing, except Aiden had 10 rebounds.
know. What? I value Bridges so much more than Ayton. We were literally just talking on your
now I
podcast
do,
about
but when he
how
was on the
Ayton-
Suns, it was like, oh, he's really inconsistent offensively. Booker goes away.
Bridges this year made huge strides all
He
year.
always makes huge strides when there's no one around him. Whenever Booker's gone, Bridges looks like one of the best players because he could score 20 something a game, and then Booker comes back and he goes down to 15 a game.
All I can tell you is Bridges had his best season this year.
I
And he
don't
was
care if
MVP
you okay,
defensive
so
player.
did like Brunson had his best season this year.
I
Doesn't
know.
matter if it's your
He was
best
a-
season.
He was a close cut. I mean, he
I know
was.
Bridges should be a close cut. But like just because it's
Well,
your
we
best
disagree.
season, I don't
We
care about your past season.
We disagree. 27 a game with the Brooklyn Nets, Mikal Bridges. And I can't wait to see what he does next year. All right. Speaking of Mikal Bridges, let's get to the all defense teams.